Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Sri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Trinadapi Sunichena Taradivasa Hishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Eva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva Gatir Anyata Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vas Adigo Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vas Adigo Bhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jai Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vas Adigo Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Gopala Govinda Rama Sri Madhusudana Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Hey Krishna 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 Rakshamam Krishna 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 Pahimam Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshamam Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahimam Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshamam Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Krishna Keshava Pahimam Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rama Raghava Rakshamam Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahima. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Parivrajaka Stotra Sattasi Siman, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gokupinath, Syamakunda Radha Kinda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Yamuna Devi Ki Jai, Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the Cologne Krishna book devotees. All glories to the Cologne Krishna book devotees. All glories to the Cologne and elsewhere Krishna book devotees. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing the description of the rasa dance. Upon hearing the anxious plea of the gopis, the Supreme Personality of Godhead began to smile, and being very kind to the gopis, Lord Krishna, although self-sufficient, began to embrace them and kiss them just as they desired. When Krishna, smiling, looked at the faces of the gopis, the beauty of their faces became 100 times enhanced. When Krishna was enjoying the gopi and was in their midst, Krishna appeared just like the full moon surrounded by millions of shining stars. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, surrounded by hundreds of gopis and decorated with a flower garland of many colors, Krishna began to wander within the Vrindavan, the forest, sometimes singing to himself and sometimes singing with the gopis. In this way, both Lord Krishna and the gopis reached the cool sandy bank of the Yamuna, where there were lilies and lotus flowers. In such a transcendental atmosphere, both the gopis and Krishna began to enjoy one another. And while they were walking on the bank of the Yamuna, Krishna would sometimes put his arms around a particular gopi, pinching one another and joking and looking at one another. They all enjoyed. When Krishna touched the bodies of the gopis, their desire to embrace Krishna increased, and they all enjoyed these pastimes. Thus, the gopis were blessed with all mercy by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for they enjoyed his company without a tinge of mundane sex life. So that's an important point. We must not think that this is comparable to what goes on in the material world. This is all going on the spiritual platform. It is on the transcendental platform. Thus, like the spotless sun, there is not a tinge of contamination. Everything is blissful, pure, transcendental. The gopis, however, soon began to feel very proud, thinking themselves to be the most fortunate women in the universe, being favored by the company of Krishna. Lord Krishna, who was known as Keshava, could immediately understand the pride of the gopis caused by their great fortune of enjoying him personally. And in order to show them his causeless mercy, and also to curb their false pride, Krishna immediately disappeared from the scene, exhibiting his opulence of renunciation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is full with 6 kinds of opulences, and this is an instance of the opulence of renunciation. This renunciation confirms Krishna's total non-attachment. Krishna is always self-sufficient and is not dependent upon anything. That is the platform on which the transcendental pastimes are enacted. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So now we will go to the next episode. When Krishna suddenly disappeared from the company of the gopis began to search for Krishna in every place. After not finding him anywhere, they became afraid and almost mad after him. The gopis were simply thinking of the pastimes of Krishna in great love and affection. Being absorbed in thought, the gopis experienced loss of memory, and with dampened eyes began to see the very pastimes of Krishna, his beautiful talks with them, his embracing, his kissing, and all other activities. Being so attracted to Krishna, the gopis began to imitate his dancing, his walking, and his smiling, as if they themselves were Krishna. Due to Krishna's absence, they all became crazy. Each one of them began to tell the others that she was herself Krishna. Soon, they all began to assemble together and chant Krishna's name very loudly, and moved from one part of the forest to another, searching for Krishna. So this is significant for me, that what did the gopis decide to do when Krishna had left them and they became crazy and they became mad? What does it say here? Soon they all began to assemble together and chant Krishna's name very loudly. So that is the solution to all problems of life. Loudly chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. There is no other way. Kalau nastyeva, gatir anyata. If you want success in this life, you must take to the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Prabhupada now comments on what we just read about the gopis becoming crazy. Actually, Krishna is all-pervasive. Krishna is in the sky, and Krishna is in the forest. Krishna is within one's heart, and Krishna is always everywhere. The gopis therefore began to question the trees and plants about Krishna. There were various types of big trees and small plants in the Vrindavana forest, and the gopis began to address them. Dear banana tree, Have you seen the son of Maharaj Nanda passing this way, laughing and playing upon his flute? Krishna has stolen our hearts and has gone away. So if you have seen Krishna, kindly inform us which way Krishna has gone. O dear Ashoka tree, dear Naga flower tree, and Champaka flower tree, have you seen the younger brother of Balaram passing along this way? Krishna has disappeared because of our pride. Yes, the gopis were aware of the reason for Krishna's sudden disappearance. The gopis could understand that when they were enjoying Krishna, they thought themselves to be the most fortunate women within the universe. And since they were feeling proud, Krishna disappeared immediately just to curb the pride of the gopis. This is because Krishna does not like any of his devotees to be proud of their service to him. Krishna accepts everyone's service, but Krishna does not like one devotee to be prouder than the others. If sometimes there are such feelings, Krishna ends them by changing his attitude toward the devotee. So, in this connection, I am reminded of what Lord Chaitanya instructs all of his followers. Lord Chaitanya's third Shikshastakam prayer is to be worn around the neck for constant remembrance. What is that verse? Trinadapi sunichena toror iva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sada hari. Lord Chaitanya's instruction is that his devotees should always feel meek and humble, like the straw in the street, like the grass on the ground. The devotee has to be more tolerant than a tree, give all respects to others, and not be concerned with getting respect in return. This Lord Chaitanya says the devotee should wear around the neck for constant remembrance. The gopis then began to address the tulsi plants. Oh dear Tulsi, you are much beloved by Lord Krishna because your leaves are always at Krishna's lotus feet. Dear Malati flower, dear Malika flower, dear jasmine flower, all of you must have been touched by Krishna while Krishna was passing this way after giving us transcendental enjoyment. So, have you seen Madhava passing this way? O mango trees, O trees of jackfruit, O pear trees and asana trees, O blackberries and bale trees, and trees of kadamba flower, you are all very pious trees to be living on the bank of the Yamuna, and Krishna must have passed through this way. So will you kindly let us know which way Krishna has gone? The gopis then looked down on the ground they were traversing and began to address the earth. Dear earthly planet, we do not know how many penances and austerities you must have undergone to be now living with the footprints of Lord Krishna upon you. O Mother Earth, surely you are very jolly. The hairs on your body are these jubilant trees and plants. Lord Krishna must have been very much pleased with you. Otherwise, how could Krishna have embraced you in his form of Varaha, the boar. When you were submerged in water, Varaha delivered you, taking the whole weight of your existence upon his tusks. After addressing the innumerable trees and plants, the gopis turned their faces toward the beautiful deer, who were looking at the gopis very pleasingly. It appears that Krishna, who is actually the supreme Narayana himself, must have passed through this way along with his companion Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. Otherwise, how is it possible that the aroma of Krishna's garland, which is smeared with red kumkum from the breast of the goddess of fortune, can be perceived in the breeze blowing here? It appears that they must have passed through here and touched your bodies, and thus you are feeling so pleasant. And you are looking towards us with sympathy. Will you kindly inform us, therefore, which way Krishna has gone? For Krishna is the well-wisher of Vrindavan. He is as kind to you as to us. Therefore, after leaving us, Krishna must have been present in your company. O fortunate trees, we are thinking of Krishna, the younger brother of Balaram, while passing through here with one hand resting on the shoulder of the goddess of fortune, and the other hand whirling a lotus flower. Krishna must have been very pleased to accept your obeisances, and must have glanced at you with great pleasure. Some of the gopis then began to address their other gopi friends. Dear friends, why do you not question these creepers who were so jubilantly embracing the big trees as if the trees were their husbands? It appears that the flowers of the creepers must have been touched by the nails of Krishna. Otherwise, how could they feel so jubilant? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We shall now go to the next episode. Jai. The next episode is all about the gopis acting out the pastimes of Krishna. So after searching for Krishna here and there, when the gopis became fatigued, they began to talk like madwomen, and they could only satisfy themselves by imitating the different pastimes of Krishna. One of them imitated the demon Putana, and one of them imitated Krishna and sucked her breast. One gopi imitated a hand-driven cart, and another gopi lay down beneath the cart and began to throw up her legs, touching the wheels of the cart, just as Krishna did to kill the demon Shakata Asura. They imitated child Krishna, lying down on the ground, and then one gopi became the demon Trinavarta and carried the small child Krishna by force into the sky. And one of the gopis began to imitate Krishna while he was attempting to walk, ringing his ankle bells. Two gopis imitated Krishna and Balaram, and many others imitated Krishna and Balaram's cowherder boyfriends. One gopi assumed the form of Baka Asura and another forced her to fall down, just as the demon Bakasura did when he was killed by Krishna. Similarly, another gopi defeated Vatsa-asura, and just as Krishna used to call his cows by their different names, so the gopis imitated Krishna, calling the cows by their respective names. One of the gopis began to play on a flute, and another praised her the way Krishna's boyfriends used to praise Krishna while he played on his flute. One of the gopis took another gopi on her shoulders, just as Krishna used to take his boyfriends on his shoulders. Absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, the gopi who was carrying her friend began to boast that she was Krishna herself. "All of you, just see my movement." One of the gopis raised her hand with her covering garments and said, "Now, do not be afraid of the torrents of rain and severe hurricanes. I will save you." In this way, she imitated the lifting of Govardhan Hill. One gopi put her feet on the head of another gopi and said, "You rascal Kaliya, I shall punish you severely. You must leave this place, for I have descended on this earth just to punish all kinds of miscreants." Another gopi told her friends, "Just see, the flames of the forest fire are coming to devour us. Please close your eyes, and I shall immediately save you from this imminent danger." Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So now we'll go to the final scene of today's program. We still have a lot more, don't worry. We're going to continue for a few more weeks. But today, this next section is the end of this chapter. As I said, there are 5 chapters dealing with the Rasa Lila. So we just finished the first one, and now we're finishing up the second one. In this way, all the gopis were madly feeling the absence of Krishna. The gopis inquired about Krishna from the trees and plants. In some places, they found the imprints of the marks on the sole of Krishna's feet, namely the flag, lotus flower, trident, thunderbolt, etc. After seeing those footprints, the gopis exclaimed, "Oh, here is the impression of the marks on the soul of Krishna. All the marks, such as flag, lotus flower, trident, and thunderbolt, are distinctly visible." The gopis began to follow the footprints, and shortly they saw another set of footprints besides Krishna's footprints, and immediately they became very sorry. "Oh, dear friends, just see. Whose are these other footprints? They are beside the footprints of the son of Maharaj Nanda. It is certainly Krishna passing through, resting his hand upon some other gopi, exactly as an elephant goes side by side with its beloved mate. We must therefore understand that this particular gopi served Krishna with greater affectionate love than ourselves." So here, I would like to point something out. In the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami does not utter the name Radha or Radharani. The reason he did that is because if he had even mentioned Radha's name, he would have gone into extreme ecstatic ecstasy and most likely would not have finished his teachings to Parikshit Maharaj. But this line that we just read, we must therefore understand that this particular gopi served Krishna with greater affectionate love than ourselves. In the Sanskrit, the word is Anyaradita. So that is where Radha gets her name. It is from this one line, Anyaradita. In other words, the very word Radha means the one who worships Krishna the best. Nobody can compete, nobody can excel, nobody can surpass the devotion of Radharani. And therefore this line in the 10th canto, Anyaradita, is where the Radha name comes from. The gopis continue. We must therefore understand that this particular gopi served Krishna with greater affectionate love than ourselves. And because of this, although Krishna has left us, Krishna could not leave her company. Krishna has taken her along with him. Oh dear gopi friends, just imagine how the dust of this place is transcendently glorious. That reminds me, I am now going to sprinkle some Vrindavan dust on my head. And virtually, I will sprinkle you with Vrindavan dust. Dear friends, just imagine how the dust of this place is transcendently glorious. The dust of the lotus feet of Krishna is worshipped even by Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi ji. But at the same time, we are very sorry that this particular gopi has gone along with Krishna, for she is sharing the nectar of Krishna's kisses and leaving us aside to lament. Oh friends, just see, at this particular spot, we do not see the footprints of that special gopi. It appears that because there was some pinpricks from the dried grass, Krishna must have taken Radharani on his shoulder. Oh, she is very dear to him. She is so dear to him. Krishna must have picked some flowers in this spot just to satisfy that gopi, because here, where Krishna stood erect to get the flowers from the high branches of the tree, we find only half the impression of Krishna's feet. Dear friends, just see how Krishna must have sat down here with that gopi and tried to set flowers in her hair. You can be certain that both of them sat together here. Prabhupada now explains. Krishna is self-sufficient. Krishna has nothing to enjoy from any other source. Yet, just to satisfy his devotee, Krishna treated Radharani exactly as an ordinary boy treats his girlfriend. Krishna is so kind that he always tolerates the disturbances created by his girlfriends. In this way, all the gopis began to point out the faults of that particular gopi who had been taken alone by Krishna. They began to say that that chief gopi, who was taken alone by Krishna, must now be also very proud of her position, thinking herself the greatest of the gopis. Yet, how could Krishna have taken her away alone, leaving all of us aside? This is only possible, for she must be extraordinarily qualified and beautiful. She must have taken Krishna deep into the forest, and then she might have said to Krishna, "Oh, my dear Krishna, I am now very tired. I cannot go any further. Please carry me wherever you like." So when Krishna was spoken to in this way, Krishna might have told that gopi, "All right, better get on my shoulder." But immediately Krishna must have disappeared, and now that gopi must be lamenting for Krishna just like us. She must be lamenting in this way, "My dear lover, my dearest, oh, you are so fine, you are so powerful. Where have you gone? Why, I am nothing but your most obedient maidservant. I am very much aggrieved. Please come and be with me once again." However, Krishna is not coming to that gopi. Krishna must be watching her from a distant place and enjoying her sorrow. All the gopis then went further and further into the Vrindavan forest, searching out Krishna. But when they learned that actually that other gopi was left alone by Krishna, they then became very sorry. This is the test of Krishna consciousness. In the beginning, they were a little envious that Krishna had taken that gopi alone, leaving aside all other gopis. But as soon as the gopis knew that Krishna had also left that other gopi and that she was now alone, lamenting for him, the gopis became more sympathetic to her. The gopis found that particular gopi, Radharani, and then heard everything from her about how she misbehaved with Krishna and how she was proud, and she was thus insulted for her pride. After hearing all this, all the other gopis became actually very sympathetic. Then, all the gopis, including Radharani, began to proceed further into the forest until they could no longer see the moonlight. When they saw that it was getting gradually darker, they stopped. Their mind and intelligence became absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. They all imitated the activities of Krishna and Krishna's speeches. Due to their heart and soul being completely given over to Krishna, the gopis began to chant his glories, completely forgetting their family interests. In this way, all the gopis assembled together on the bank of the Yamuna and were expecting that Krishna must return to them. They simply engaged in the chanting of the glories of Sri Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we will continue next week. And next week opens with the most confidential chapter in all of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 12 cantos, 335 chapters, Next week, we study the single most elevated chapter. It is called Gopi Gita, the song of the gopis. And I will sing the Sanskrit at some point, as well as hearing the narration as given to us by Prabhupada. So you don't want to miss next week, because next week is also the week before Sri Krishna Janmashtami. Haribol. So we're going to be very, very much inspired next week, and we'll be very, very enlivened to celebrate Krishna Janmashtami. All right, it's time for your insurance program, as given to you by Nirantara Dasa. Namaste Narasimhaya Praklad Aklad Dayane Hiranya Kashi Purvakshaha Shilatanka Nakalaye Ito Nrsinga Parato Nrsinga Yato Yato Yamitato Nrsinga Bahir Nrsinga Hridaye Nrsinga Nrsingham Adim Sharanam Prapadye Nrsingham Adim Sharanam Prapadye Nrsingham Adim Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamala Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakam Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahadi Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadisha Hare Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Om Tat Sat